Hello everyone, welcome to Technocraft. I have been a Python developer for a long time and I am super excited to share my knowledge of this awesome programming language. With Python, you can build web apps, desktop apps, do scientific computations, create script, artificial intelligence software, and even home automation software. This course is a getting started course for developing Python application and you don't need prior experience with Python at all. Some of the major topics we will cover include installing Python on every major operating system, learning the syntax and the basic features of the language, developing a console application and converting it into a web app, and creating executable files and set up wizards from our Python app. By the end of this course, you will know the basics of Python programming and be ready to develop applications on your own. From here, continue learning by diving into Python framework and libraries with courses on Dojo for web development, TransFlow for artificial intelligence, SkyFi for scientific computation, and PyQt for cross-platform desktop applications. I hope you'll join me on this journey to learn Python with the Python Getting Started course. In this course, we will first learn the basics of Python, things like data types such as integers, strings, function, classes, and of course some unique Python only features. You'll see how to put it all together. Throughout the course, we'll be working on a console application that we will later convert to a web application while reusing most of our code. Now, how cool is that? Python is very simple, beautiful, yet extremely powerful programming language. You can get started almost immediately with minimal setup required. It is a cross-platform, which means that it can run most of major operating system including Linux, Windows, Mac OS, and you don't have to modify your code at all. But what can I use Python for? You wonder. Well, you can use Python for pretty much anything. Use it for building console applications, script, scientific computations, and backends desktop application, and even home automation and machine learning or artificial intelligence apps. The list just goes on. This is a beginner friendly course, so I don't expect you to have any previous knowledge of Python. But I would appreciate if you have at least some basic general programming knowledge, meaning you know what is a function does and what a variable is. Even if you do know Python, I highly recommend that you continue with the course. Python consistently ranks as one of the most popular programming language in the development community. In the end, you will really see how simple Python is, yet how amazing it is at the same time. But what is it exactly that make it so amazing? Let's take a look and see what makes Python amazing. First off, Pythons can do a lot of things, and I mean a lot. Did you want to write small scripts to automation to automate some boring talks like passing a CSV file every 30 minutes or doing some regular server maintenance? You can use Python for that. Complex scientific computation and graphs? Sure. Now, how about cross-platform desktop application that has a native look and feel on every operating system? Yes, you can use Python. Android development? You bet. Build a website backend and write one line of code. Have a completely working administrator interface. Use Dojo, a famous Python web framework. Finally, do you want to write an app that is automatically going to recognize pictures and categorize them? Is it a dog or a cat or something else? Go for it. Use Python with excellent TransFlow library. Python is very simple to write. Here is the Java code that prints the hello world to the console, or rather, standard output. Now, here is the Python version of the code that do the same job. Granted, the Java has a class defined and a function, but you must define those in Java. Not so with Python. Python also kind of forces you to write readable code, at least more so than other languages. You see, for most other languages, use curly braces to delimit blocks like an if statement or a function body. Python actually use intention, use yes, Python use tabs or spaces. I don't want to start a war here. Trust me, instead of curly braces, in addition, Python rules, if you really want to call them, that come in the form of PEPs or Python enhancement proposals. There are many PEPs, but one of the first ones you will hear about is called PEP8. This rule is a guiding principle as to how you should write your code to make it more readable. For example, that there need to be two empty lines before a new class declaration, or that function name should be all lowercase with underscore for spaces and not camel class. Like with so many other languages, Pep8 is usually already integrated in most Python editors, including the one you will use for this course. Python 2 versus Python 3. If you have looked up any information about the Python programming language before you started this course, I'm sure you have encountered questions and arguments on both sides that talks about which version of Python you should use, Python 2 or Python 3. The eternal debate, online forums are full of people saying you should use Python 2 because of this or Python 3 because of that. But in reality, just use Python 3 for reasons that are really outside the scope of this course. Python 3 adoption did not go as smoothly as it was hoped. Therefore, even today, you will see some versions of Python 2 being used, hopefully at least one of the 2.7 versions. Now, granted, the last version of Python 2.7, the 2.7.13 was released in December 2016. So, it is not ancient, at least not at the time of recording this course. However, Python 2 is going to reach the end of its life in 2020. There will be no Python 2.8 and there will be no new features added in 2.7 either. Even so, some systems, including those designed by a certain fruity company, still come bundled with Python 2.7. And on the other side, we have Python 3. Let's bring a lot of improvements, new features, and some nice new tricks. Python 3 was released in December 2018. Yes, it has been that long, and there are still adoption problems. There are not that many differences between Python 2 and Python 3, at least as far as the syntax is concerned. Mostly, some things are working differently under the hood. As a beginner, one of the first difference you will notice is that Python 2 treated print, the ability to print to the console, as a statement, meaning you would have code such as print hello world, whereas in Python 3 it's a function. So the code has to be print hello world, hello world, things of that nature. If you are for some reason stuck with the Python 2, I encourage you to keep following this course. You'll be able to use probably all of the code sample that we write, and I'll try to print out the differences between Python 2 and Python 3 as we move forward. Whatever the case, in this course, we will work with Python 3, and at the time of recording this course, the latest version is Python 3.7. So let's go ahead and install it. Installing Python. Well, we have talked about Python so much. The next logical step for us would be install it right. Installing Python is quite simple. It involves a download from Python website if you are using Windows or Mac OS, or installing it from a packet manager If you are using a Linux desktop, if you are using a Windows, simply open your browser, navigate it to the Python website, which is www.python.org. From there, go to downloads and you will see the latest version, which is 3.7.2, is available for download. The website will recognize which operating system you are using, so you don't have to worry about selecting Windows specifically anywhere. Once the download finishes, open the setup file and run it. Make sure to check to add Python 3.6 to the path open and the installer, and then click on the install now. When the installation is done, because I already have the Python, so it's just asking me to upgrade it. So if I click yes, so it's going to install, and in my case, it's going to upgrade to the latest version. It's going to take a couple of minutes. So once the installation is done, I'm going to minimize this window. You should be able to verify the Python installation by opening a command window and typing python hyphen hyphen version. So it will show you the latest version which got installed on your machine, and you are good to go. Same way, most Linux distributions come with Python already installed, but often the default one is Python 2. Python 2 and Python 3 can coexist on the same system just fine. However, we do need to install one more tool that we are going to use, and that Ubuntu does not come with. You will learn more about this tool later. If your Linux distribution did not come with Python 3, I would suggest you look up instructions online on how to install it on your machine. It should not be too hard at all. Something as simple as sudo apt-get install python 3 or using a distro package manager should suffice. Note that some Linux distributions already come with Python 3 installed and as a default, so make sure to check the regular Python version first to see if it's Python 3 or it's Python 2. On macOS, the procedure is similar to Windows. Simply open www.python.org and download the installation file. Again, it's going to recognize your operating system. So your procedure for installing an application is standard. Once the installation has completed, to verify that you have the correct version of Python installed, open the terminal app and type Python 3 version. Notice that we have the same message as we had on Linux or Windows. So if I do just Python hyphen hyphen version, it's going to show you 2.7 or 3.7 based on the version you installed. Another way to install Python 3 on macOS, and that's using Homebrew. It's a little bit more involved. So I would suggest you search the web for Homebrew Python 3 installation, especially since there are certain advantages to installing it through Homebrew. For what it's worth, I will always be referring to Python terminal command to simplify Python for the rest of the course and never Python 3. Alright, we have our environment all set up, but what do we do with it now? Once you install Python, you will have this handy tool in your terminal or PowerShell called Python. If you just type Python in your PowerShell, or your command window, or if in case of Linux on the console or the terminal, you just have to type Python. and you are in the Python window, you have access to the entire Python programming language. This is that something that's pretty different from other languages such as C or Java. If you are a front-end web developer, think of this as a JavaScript console in your browser in your browser developer tool. So what does this mean exactly? Well, being able to just type Python in the terminal give you some advantages as a developer. For example, suppose you are not really sure of a result of a function or any other code output, you can simply start the Python interceptor on your machine and see what happens when you use the function. In fact, many Python IDEs come with their integrated Python console, although that's the same as if we run the Python command through our terminal. Unfortunately, this does come with a small drawback, but nothing we can really deal with. This also means that every Python program we run, we have to prefix it with the Python command. Let's say you have a hello.py file that is simply print hello world to the screen. Well, in order to run, we have to open our terminal and type python 3 hello.py. Now, during development, this is usually abstracted from us a little bit as the editor will give us the option to run this program specifically. Now, you may be thinking, is Python, you said it's easy and all, and I don't want my user to install a whole programming language just so that they can use my program and they don't have to. Towards the end of this course, we will see how we can package our app so that it is one binary file like an exe file for Windows that you can run on any operating system. As mentioned, we definitely have the full power of Python if we run Python from our command line, but if you want a little bit more than that, such as syntax highlighting, you'll want to run the IDE, which is right here. This is one that comes installed with Python by default or the one you installed as the IDE3 package if you're using some flavor of Linux. To open it, simply search your machine for IDE and you should be able to see that. You know what? As far as Python, they now you may notice that my terminal and my IDE look almost the same. And you know what? As far as Python, they pretty much are. Remember, running IDE is same as if you type Python in your terminal. There is no difference in the functionality of Python behind it at all. The advantages the IDE offers over a regular terminal are code completion, syntax highlighting, although, or at a pretty basic level. In fact, it will be the same even if you have an application that has thousands of lines of codes and span across multiple files or Python modules as we call them. You will run the one main file through the Python interceptor. For example, our hello.py file mentioned earlier in the beginning of the course, we'll be using IDE just to familiarize ourselves with the basics of Python very quickly. So we will jump into the great free integrated development environment called PyCharm. So let's go ahead and get it. Installing PyCharm. Although we will start the Python IDE later on, we will be using an IDE called PyCharm. This is an excellent IDE that is built by the same folks who brought you ReSharper, WebStorm, and many other products. They have a free community edition which you can download from their website. Of course, you don't have to use PyCharm if you don't want to, and any text editor will work just fine, including just Notepad. But Atom, Visual Studio Code, Sublime Text, Wine ID, Vim, MCAS, you name it, for the purpose of this course, however, we'll be using PyCharm. To download it, simply go to www.jetbrains.com/pycharm. So right here, and you can click on download and click on the community edition download window, and it will start downloading. Once the download is completed, you can click on the exe and execute the file, and same as any other installer, the PyCharm will get installed on your machine. And once it's got installed, you can start from the PyCharm from your start window and start running it. I already have the PyCharm installed on on my machine, so I'll just open the PyCharm and show you how the console will look like. So this is how the PyCharm console will look like. I have a project called Hello World. You can always go to the file and create a new project and give a name to that. I already have the Hello World project which is created, and I have a couple of scripts which I have written over here, which you can see on the screen. But if you are using a different text editor, simply create a hello world.py file on your system somewhere and run it through the terminal. Just navigate to the directory when you where you have saved the file hello world.py file and type python hello world.py. If your text editor has a Python plugin, even better, I would suggest you utilize that. Now, I know I have been boring you with all the introductory talk, but a little coding. I'm sure most of you are super excited to see some coding done on the Python. So we will wind up the introduction module and we'll get started with the coding part on the next module. Thanks for joining, guys.